I've seen so many parents run themselves ragged because they can't manage a household. Running my personal life, like my business, has been what's made me super successful. And if you don't use basic project management skills in running a household, you will end up burnt out, run ragged, and resentful of your kid. I'm Meg Epstein. I am a CEO for the last decade. I'm a mom of three with one on the way, and I apply all of the lessons I've learned in business into my household to run it like a tight ship. I've always applied a lot of structure to my personal life. So in my marriage, I was married for 10 years before we decided to have kids. We mapped out our goals every year. We made sure to spend time together every week that was structured. We had our date night at least once a week and, special things that we did. We also divided up what our responsibilities were, kind of a divide and conquer approach. So I was more in charge of household tasks, like laundry, dishes. I could, of course, outsource those if I saw fit, but that was my responsibility. Steven's always been in charge of more finance, taxes, estate structuring, that sort of thing. And that's carried through as we've, grown our household and all of our assets over the years. So having that structure with what we wanted to accomplish, our schedule, and who was going to be doing what has been that an incredible foundation for us having children. Now we'll have four children under 2 years old. um, we're having two and we've adopted two in a very short amount of time. And having that project management mindset in relation to our household has been key to that. I get people asking me all the time, "Oh my God, you guys are crazy. You guys have all these kids. How are you doing it? How are you doing it?" And honestly, it has been an absolute pleasure and it has not been difficult because we have so much structure. So when I first started my career, I was on a job site building a $40 million home. And the keys to that was a budget and a schedule and keeping the project on time and on budget. That's the essence of what a project manager does. So I always think like that with my household. One is the schedule. And division of responsibility. So we have at the beginning of every week on Sunday, we lay out what is the schedule for the week. And I have an assistant that coordinates my schedule now, but anyone can do this on any digital calendar that's shared with your partner um, or with your kids. So basically, we lay out on Sunday what the week is and kind of walking through meals and activities so that it's all laid out. I've gained a lot of efficiency in having so many children at once by doing so many of the same things at the same time. It's a bit like an assembly line. If you're making one bottle, I might as well make 4 or 5 bottles, right? If you're changing diapers, you're going to Costco and buying all the diapers at once. And it's sort of the same context. So I've sort of applied that project manager mentality to having kids and making sure that um, we're efficiently set up so that the household runs really, really well. Another thing is we have a budget every single week and month that we operate off of. And obviously, as we've grown and become more successful, we have a lot more help than we used to. But this can be applied to any household. We set out a budget at the beginning of every month and year based on what we want or who we want to help or what services we're going to be using, like laundry or grocery delivery or cooking services or things like that. And we basically keep our household ran on a budget and it gets updated every single month. And so I just really think of it just like a real estate development project to where, there's a very strict schedule and budget and it's a matter of keeping it on to that. And when you keep your children, when they have that much structure and your life doesn't just drop because of what your kids want and they fit into what you want to do, it makes a very easy way of life because you're not super stressed out, kind of coping with everything that's coming at you. You have a structure to build from and enjoy from. And I can say that that's how I've scaled up my household with four children under two and still running a company and my husband running his companies and, us traveling and doing everything we want to do. So definitely the shared calendar is absolutely key. And even if it's a bunch of fun activities or blocked out quality time, how you spend your time should not be being done on the defense. It should be done on the offense, meaning you're controlling your schedule, or you and your spouse or you and your partner are controlling what is going to happen. Your kids are not controlling their schedule. And it can be a bunch of activities for them, sports things, family dinner, going on walks as a family, doing a photography lesson, whatever it is, but that should be laid out ahead of time and not just waiting, by the whim of what everyone else wants to do, because you need to balance in the right amount of activities every week and not be super overscheduled or, just kind of waste a bunch of time not doing anything that's really achieving any of your goals. So, putting in a shared calendar that you and your spouse see and go over at the beginning of the week before the week starts and getting agreement on that. Of course, things change here and there and you need to be somewhat flexible, but really making sure that you're moving, blocking out the things that you need. Maybe you need a workout, you need quality time with your spouse, your children need XYZ activities, and making sure that that's all well rounded and everyone's in agreement before the week starts. So that's really key. Another really important aspect is looking and seeing what can you outsource about your household. I hear this over and over and over again. So many moms or parents feel guilty outsourcing anything, and even if they can afford it, they feel bad about it for some reason, or they say, "Oh, I'm a control freak or something." I'm sorry, it's not rocket science to do the laundry or um, you know, get your dishes washed or have your cooking done or, whatever situation you're in, even if you're outsourcing it to your older children, they can help with chores. Take some things off your plate that will give you more presence and time with your kids. That goes on, but for your spouse or you, anything you can outsource should be outsourced because that will give you the more presence and more ability to either earn more for your family, which gives you time together, or spend quality time with them. And doing a bunch of chores and being super distracted by the mess in the house really weighs down on that enjoyable quality time. So just choosing the things, really looking over your life, even monthly, and seeing what can I outsource, what can I, hand off so that I'm more present as a parent. Okay, I think setting roles for every single person in your family, just like a company where people have positions, is absolutely key. In a company, you have a CFO or a treasurer. That should be someone in the house should be in charge of paying the bills and keeping things on budget, whether that's you or your partner. Chores around the house, I see this so many times where it's like moms get burnout because they're doing everything. Children actually really, really want to contribute. They want to be workers. People, young people want to help their parents. They want to help do something. They want to learn how to do things. And you're not doing them any favors by not having them make their bed when they can, or put even just basic putting away their toys or cleaning up their food or loading the dishwasher. So as soon as they can, I would give, that responsibility and unleash the burden of yourself onto your children. And in our household, everybody, my kids are still really young, but at least between me and my parents and the help that we have, our nannies and personal assistant, everybody has a responsibility. We know that Ashley, my personal assistant, is booking doctor's appointments for the kids and arranging all the swimming lessons. We know my husband's in charge of the finance, that I'm in charge of, who's like the household cleaning schedule, those sort of things, making sure all the laundries gets done, making sure that our home renovation is getting done. Like we very much divide and conquer, and that really cuts down on the blame game between spouses. That really cuts down on inefficiency. Like when I hear that like both parents are up feeding the child, I'm always like, why? Why are both of you losing sleep? Like, divide and conquer. It can be one night the mom, one night the dad, but at least, you're not both having like working on something. And so that's a really important point about, separating roles. And I just think of it like a company organization chart. Like, hey, you have, different hats that have to be worn in your household. So you assign it to people. And how I think about these roles for each kid is that they're in charge of their department or their space or their room. And so just like with my employees, I wouldn't tell them, exactly what they need to do their job or tell them when to do it, but I would make them responsible for, making sure that their environment is clean or that they are brushing their teeth before bed or that they're eating a meal, right? Like I'm expecting them to do that and giving them that responsibility and obviously helping and teaching them. But I think it's really important not to just micromanage and do everything for someone. So I've learned a lot of these lessons just from being in my company and having a bunch of employees over the years that now I'm applying to my children. That has been really awesome. I hope that business context for your household gives you a little bit of a different perspective. If you want to hear more about what being pregnant and having a family taught me about being a CEO and running a company, watch this next video.